Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. This is Kelsey here today with Rahir Rahman. He's the CEO and founder at Turn. Rahir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Rahir, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started growing up around the world. My father was an economist for the World Bank out of DC. I've lived in a number of countries in the developing world. Started my tech career about 15 years ago, building a company in the fintech space, and did that, provided financial services to what we call the base of the pyramid, so immigrant and low-skilled labor. And so after doing that for a number of years, we actually sold that company to Innova International. And then, I've been spending a lot of time understanding, what are some trends that were affecting this workforce. And one in particular was kind of the growing demand for hourly talent. And so, knowing the audience, knowing my audience really well, what I wanted to do is go from providing financial services to helping them find jobs and helping those employers identify that talent. So that was a little bit of my journey into building the company.
Oh, so interesting. So tell me a little bit more about Turn.
Sure. The mission behind Turn is actually fairly simple. The goal is to provide autonomous hiring for the hourly workforce. But the goal is, simple in concept, but very hard to execute. So today, when we think about hiring for hourly, when you put yourself in the mindset of an employer, it's actually a very cumbersome process. And what most companies end up doing is building their own HR stack, which is a combination of multiple point solutions. So the way I think about the world in the hourly hiring is you have kind of top of funnel, mid funnel, and bottom funnel. The top of funnel is how do you identify talent, right? And doing that, a lot of people do it through job boards and distribution of multiple job boards. The second component is how do you engage and select talent? And you do that through some marketing outreach, campaign recruitment, marketing solutions, point solutions that do that. And then you have some chatbots and a whole bunch of other things related to that. And then you have on the bottom funnel, which is, the hiring side of it, you go through the background check process and making sure they're qualified to work. So when I saw this in the industry, what I saw was that, most companies had a patchwork of vendor arrangements, right? So sometimes it would be dozens of companies, and ultimately, for even enterprise, it would be hundreds of point solutions. So what that does is it ends up creating a really high cost to hire because you have to pay for every company that you're using. And so the average hire ends up costing you around $1,200 in the country. And that's inclusive of the, identification, marketing, and background check.
Yeah.
So that's a very expensive thing for a worker that historically turns over anywhere from 12 to 15 times a year. So you're spending a lot of money going through that. And to me, that really was the heart of the problem that's been plaguing us for 15 years.
Interesting. So talk to me a little bit about Turn's secret sauce then, because it is a larger industry. So what really differentiates Turn?
Yes, so I think, when we approached this, I didn't want to be another provider of a point solution along the way, right? That to me was not moving the needle at all. And I think there's already a plethora of companies that are doing that. So we really took a step back and said, if you want to make real change in this industry, and you want to help employers identify talent better, and you want to help workers discover opportunities faster, what you need to do is kind of rethink the industry. So we looked at it and said, there's three themes that are powerful in making this happen. The first theme is verticalization. Can we look at this, the top, middle, and bottom funnel and verticalize it into one platform? So you don't have to go create a bunch of vendor patchworks. So think of this as what AWS did in 2006 for cloud computing.
Okay.
Prior to AWS, you had to get servers, you had to create servers in foreign countries for redundancy, you had to manage all of that stuff. AWS came along and said, we're going to own all of it, and you can just come to us, flip a switch, and help scale it up. Now, it's still relatively complicated. You needed DevOps and system engineers and stuff, but it made it a lot easier than before them. Similarly, in our world, we verticalized it by owning every component. We own our own background check company. We do that ourselves. We own our mid-funnel, our engagement, autonomous engagement platform. It's called Ready. We do that ourselves. And we have Advise, which is our top of funnel talent intelligence platform, which is AI driven. And all of that, we own that ourselves. So Advise, Ready, and Screen are three products that are vertically integrated to provide autonomous hiring at scale. So that's theme one of how we're different than everybody else. You don't when you come to Turn and work with us, you don't have to work with anybody else.
Nice.
So that's weight off of the heads of a lot of recruiters and talent managers, right? You're not opening multiple screens and saying, okay, what's happening here? How's my job board performing? And what do I have to do and manage all of that? If you do that at scale, you have thousands of people. I mean, I'll give you an example. Amazon during peak hiring takes their recruitment team from 1,500 people to almost 6,000 people to hire all these people around the country.
No idea.
And they scale up, scale down, right? So that's just a lot of people managing a lot of jobs and opens and stuff like that. You don't need to do that anymore. So that's verticalization. The second theme that was really important for us was being able to bring on artificial intelligence and machine learning models to be able to start to develop lookalikes. Like what would make a good delivery person in San Mateo, California? And what can I identify about that person that will help me understand who else might be a good fit for that role? What would be a good cashier in Los Angeles, right? In Venice Beach. And if I find someone there, what can I find nearby? So using data to be able to inform us on patterns that might indicate whether a person is good or not. Do they like night shifts or day shifts? Are they available within 15 minutes of the commute time? What matters to people? So being able to build that type of modeling is very, very impactful. That's theme number two. Theme number three is what most people do, and this is where I think the distinction is important between autonomous hiring and automated hiring. Automated hiring is I post a job board and then I use a platform that distributes that to 100 job boards. That's automated hiring. Right. But autonomous hiring is we have all the data ourselves. We manage a candidate database, which has everyone inside it. And we are able to create that matching internally. So we're doing a pull strategy from our own database instead of a push strategy into the world to say, hey, I posted the ad on 100 job boards. Please come find it. Right. I hope someone finds this, sees this. That's not the way really the hourly workforce works, right? So for us, the third thing that we did is we spent the last 18 months building our own candidate database that has, over 80 million hourly workers in there and about another 20 million semi-skilled workers in there as well. So it's over 100 million people that is active workers in our economy today that are working for all these hourly jobs and have potential for hourly jobs if they have capacity. So what's powerful about it is when you layer on verticalization, talent intelligence, and your own database, you have the capacity to do autonomous hiring, where you can say, if Best Buy came to us and said, hey, I'm looking for a cashier job, in some neighborhood in Los Angeles, pick it. And we can say there is 3,000 people that are cashiers that have this job title, that do this type of shift within 3 miles of your location. And out of those 3,000 people, we believe our models suggest about 1,500 are better fit than the other 1,500 that might not take it. And then we have the ability to contact them programmatically and reach out to them, engage with them, and all the way through the process of getting to a background check to showing up on Monday. All of that is done without human intervention. And that required all three of those themes to come together to do. So that's how we're very different than everybody else.
Yeah. Wow. Those three themes are super fantastic too, talking about how you really are able to differentiate yourself from the competition, because those are three things that I think a lot of companies, one, have the capability to roll out, but two, have the wherewithal to really say, this is what we need to turn the dial. So talking about turnaround time, what does that look like from when you find someone? How are you able to assist companies further?
Yeah, so what's interesting about the technology we have built is I have all the data already. So if you were to come to me as an employer and say, I have these 100 jobs to fill, what we are able to do is tell you right there and then how many people are in your funnel, how many people we can get for you, and project for you how long it will take to fill that role.
Wow.
And that gives a level of transparency that has never been possible in the hourly space.
Yeah.
So for any type of, we're now working with a company that's a $10 billion market cap, and they have tens of thousands of jobs open, and we're able to identify for them down to a point where they had a job they're trying to fill that has had a vacancy for 10 months. They've been struggling, and we're able to tell them that your job description for the role that you have is wrong, because it's actually drawing on the wrong audience. You're using nomenclature from the finance and banking world, and you're in a totally different industry. And that's why you're having a mismatch between applicants who are thinking they're applying for a job, discovering they're not applying for that same job, and have this drop off.
Yeah.
And then changing the words, we were able to fill their jobs in rapid time. I think they had 10 roles that they're trying to fill in short order. We got over 100 applicants for them that are all matched for the job. And that's just because our platform is able to identify the mismatch.
Yeah. Yeah. So this platform, talk to me a little bit about, how does someone access the platform? Is there a demo? What does that look like?
Yeah. So, it's, what's interesting, it's very simple to use. I say our ideal customer profile would be anyone that has from, 100 jobs to thousands of jobs. We have our advised platform that does not require an integration. You can use it the same day. You can learn the talent intelligence related to your jobs right there and then. And then you can upgrade to the Ready platform to be able to get the talent that has, both doesn't require integration as well. You can download candidate information as a CSV file and be able to upload that to the employer's apply path. So however they're using to accept applicants today, we can tie right into that. And you can develop a deeper integration, so we can tie into whatever applicant tracking system you're using today, and so drop candidates directly there to make it frictionless and make it as easy as possible and painless as possible. So I think, that's really exciting. It doesn't require a lot of work and lift for companies, and we can help impact them right away.
Right. Talking about how you've been able to scale the company and scale Turn. I know you've got Advise, Ready, and Screen now. Talk to me a little bit more how you've been able to scale Turn.
Yeah, so I think, we started with the vision of going, reverse from the bottom funnel all the way up to the top funnel. So, we've spent time, we have over 300 platform customers on the Screen platform. We're able to learn, how 500 to a million workers have performed over the last, 18 months or so, understand their behaviors and their traits, what makes a good worker from a bad worker, be able to layer that intelligence onto a much larger data set of over 100 million workers. So that's been a little bit of the journey. We have focused a lot, I think, on the healthcare and last mile logistics space. Those are two verticals that are very big for us. As we think about where the economy is going, there's a lot of need in areas like retail, hospitality, manufacturing now, in a post-COVID environment. So we're looking into all those sectors as well and supporting customers and employers in those areas. Something I think it's really fascinating. There's a lot of talk about how recruitment and these industries slowing down a little because of the economy. But what we are seeing is employers on the hourly side, that area is growing a lot faster. So there's a lot of demand for hourly. Full-time work has definitely slowed down with layoffs and conversations from tech to other industries. But hourly is growing very strong. Certain sectors are growing particularly stronger than others. So I think there is a lot of opportunity to make a big impact over the next 18 to 24 months.
Wow. That's really interesting. I didn't necessarily consider, how you've been able to really scale the business to that extent, specifically through, as you see it, not that much of a challenge because that workforce is still there. That's interesting. So what would you say would be one thing you would want, our listeners to know about how you've been able to market Turn?
Yeah, I think, if I talk to your audience, depending if they are a worker or they are an employer, if they're an employer, I think we have the capacity to help customers really be able to address the challenges they've had with hourly employment. And our tools provide a simpler way to do it without, the integration or lift that is required. So it's a low lift product.
Mm-hmm.
And second, it provides meaningful cost savings
Mm-hmm.
through verticalization,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we own all of those components. So when you come to us, you don't have to pay for the vendor patchwork of 30 partners that we're tied into to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So that creates cost savings in this economic environment, which is very valuable,
Mm-hmm.
and an immediate impact to the technology works today. So I think from an employer standpoint, we're here to help. We're here to augment whatever you're doing today and potentially over time find you efficiencies so you can create a new platform structure long term.
Yeah.
For workers, what's interesting as well is there is a lot of demand in the hourly workforce space, and something that people forget. We talk to thousands of workers every month,
Mm-hmm.
and we get survey data from them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There is I would say over 85% of the information we have from our workers indicate there is excess capacity available for working. So hourly workers are saying, I have more time to work. The challenge is I don't know where the opportunities are.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is, for the employers, there's people out there who can help. We can help you find them. And for the workers, we can help you find the opportunities to stitch together a 40-hour work week to make, livable wages.
Yeah. So talking about kind of the hourly employees and then also the employers, you said kind of that sweet spot for you is 100 to 1,000,
job
opportunities.
Yeah.
What would you say? Is there a specific industry that you tend to see Turn helping more? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, truthfully, today we support 30 verticals.
Okay.
So that's everything from, healthcare and nursing through concierge medicine, delivery, medicinal delivery, weed delivery to, childcare, elderly care, et cetera.
Wow.
So there's a lot of verticals. And I think an area where we've seen a lot of interest has come from, as well as off beaten path, is like property management, right? Property management to, the way I think about it is, when you walk around the streets, wherever you live, if you look around, hourly workforce is everywhere. Everything that is powering the convenience culture that we live in today is dependent on this hourly workforce. And so, we can support a lot of industries. So I think, we see a lot of interest today, obviously, in a post-COVID world. We see the rise back up of retail. We see a rise back in hospitality. We see a rise back in manufacturing, all three of which were depressed a little bit more in the early 2020 to mid 2020 when COVID happened. So we're seeing a resurgence of that come back. So I think that's areas that we're seeing growth in. From an enterprise and customer perspective, we started our journey in the SMB side of the business, so helping small, medium-sized businesses, and now we are into a foray into enterprise. And so enterprise is a very generic term. We can help. We're helping customers who have 1,000 jobs opening to companies that have 20,000, 25,000 jobs opening.
Wow.
So it's a pretty wide range there. The interesting thing about our technology, because it is autonomous and AI driven, it's software. So we can support, we don't need to hire 5,000 recruiters to be able to support a company that does 25,000 jobs. It's all done by software.
Wow.
So it allows us to be able to truly help a much wider ICP, or ideal customer profile, than had we been dependent on labor ourselves.
True.
So, if you think of staffing platforms, can't have the ICP range that we do, because if they take on a large customer, they have to hire recruiters to oversee all of those jobs and manage all of those applicants through the process.
Yeah.
We don't have to do any of that. So it's software driven.
That's brilliant. And work smarter, not harder.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So what are the main social media channels that you've worked with to build your brand awareness and really make a name for Turn?
That's an excellent question. We really did not. That would be the honest answer.
Yeah.
We worked a lot just through word of mouth and through our customers and referrals from our existing customers. We have not spent money on marketing almost in our company's history.
Okay.
Which is crazy to think about, right? So it's all come from making sure you take care of your customers, and our customers being B2B and employers, And if you treat employers well and solve a pain point for them and the people on their people teams that are managing these things, they tend to refer you to lots of other customers.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of been our bread and butter for the last few years. We are now exploring, obviously, marketing. We've gotten to a point where the company is now scaling, and we're on our path to 1,000 customers. And what we want to do there is, have marketing channels. So we're using, things like LinkedIn. Obviously, we have a presence on Meta, things of that world we still use, and those have been, very helpful. I think creating the brand and getting us out there.
Yeah.
We represent ourselves in all the major conferences that are the conferences for HR tech, conferences around logistics and delivery, obviously tech conferences like TechCrunch and South by Southwest. So that's how we are building our overall tech brand, I would call it, and being able to be helpful and be out there so employers know that we're there to help.
That's really interesting. Well, right here, this has been a really great conversation. I loved you telling me kind of about that 3 different, sweet sauce that, makes Turn stand out. The verticalization, the talent intelligence. I think that's fantastic. And then also that candidate database, which really helps with that autonomous hiring. So right here, what would be one thing you hope to be celebrating in this next year?
That's a great question. I think maintaining the very high customer retention that we have had going to be very important for me. So I think, we've been very lucky that we've had wonderful customers who have helped us grow our business, and in turn us helping them support them through their growth. I'd like to maintain that as we go to the end of the year and into next year. To me, it's always a leading indicator. If you can take care of your customers, then you're doing something right. We've had we've worked with a customer who was, I think 10 people when they started, and now are a multi-billion-dollar company. And we were there from day one to today, over a course of 4 years with them. One of the largest tech platforms now in their space. So it's a great testament for us that, we were there from day one to all the way to now being a multi-billion-dollar company, and we're still the same provider for them.
Yeah, to truly be an extension of their team and be a huge stable support for them.
Yeah, and we joke that we're an outside R&D team for them as they think about their challenges with labor. So it's been really fun, and that to me is the most rewarding part of building a good company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rahir Rahman, again, he's the CEO and founder at Turn. Rahir, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. And for any of your listeners in San Francisco, we are in TechCrunch. If you're there, please feel free to stop by. We're in booth D1, and we're happy to show you more about the secret sauce.
There we go. Secret sauce, D1. Everybody in the Bay Area, let's check it out this week.
Thank you.